All right, welcome everyone. I'm so excited to be here with Patrick Snow, and I want to do a little introduction so you all get to know his background before we get started in our interview. So Patrick Snow is an international best-selling author, professional keynote speaker, publishing, speaking, and book marketing coach. So if you're interested in becoming a speaker or publishing or writing your book, he's the man. He first discovered his gift for speaking at the age of 17 while giving the pre-game speeches to his high school football team. And I'll share a little bit about the book that he's just launching soon. Since Patrick has electrified more than 3,500 audiences on 4 continents to achieve their individual and organizational destinies. As a writing, publishing, and book marketing coach, he's mentored more than 1,500 clients throughout the world to successfully write, publish, and promote their books. And many of these clients have also leveraged their books to attract even more speaking, coaching, and consulting opportunities. Patrick's destiny message has been widely recognized in the media, including the New York Times, Forbes magazine, and his book, Story and Family Photo, was also featured on a cover story in a 2002 issue of USA Today. Patrick has also been a guest on upwards of 1,000 radio shows, TV, podcast interviews within the past 25 years. He's the author of many books, including the international bestseller Creating Your Own Destiny, which has sold upwards of 1 million copies in 5 languages and 108 countries worldwide since 2001. Creating Your Own Destiny and his second book, The Affluent Entrepreneur, have both been purchased by John Wiley & Sons in New York and was published under their imprint in 2012. So was that 11 years later? In 2014, he published Boy Entrepreneur, an inspirational story based on real-life events, and his newest release, titled The Last Undefeated Season, is hot off the press and is a true story tribute to his football coach who taught him and thousands of other student athletes to be leaders. Great guy. Originally from Michigan, Patrick graduated from the University of Montana in 1991 and lived in the Seattle area for more than 20 years until 2013, when he achieved his lifelong dream and moved to the beautiful island of Maui, Hawaii, where he resides with his wife and children and their pups. And together they enjoy the beach, hiking, watching sports, and traveling as much as possible to spend time with their 3 young grandchildren. Please join me in welcoming the Dean of Destiny, Mr. Patrick Snow.
Oh, wow. Well, Barbara, thank you so much for reading that speaker introduction. I got to tell you, that could very well be the absolute best speaker introduction that I've ever written. So thank you for so eloquently sharing that. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Oh my gosh. So I'm so excited to interview you. First of all, we met and there was like an instant rapport that developed, and you shared, we talked for an hour at least, and you shared so much valuable information that I was super excited to share it with my community. And so thank you for joining me today and this group here. And as we get started, I think it'd be really cool if you would share your end of the story, sort of like go from the end to the back to the beginning, and kind of help us get to know you a little bit better and how you cracked the code to personal growth and development industry, and how did you end up becoming a publishing coach?
Yeah, so I would say right now I'm probably 95% full-time. And I quit my job maybe 23, 24 years ago. So I've been full-time entrepreneur in the space of speaking, coaching, consulting for that time. And by
Nice.
the way, I just want to say what an honor to be here. Thank you. I look forward to meeting so many of you great coaches out there to learn more from your background. And I can learn more from you than you can learn from me. So my goal is to humor, entertain, and inspire, and also to remind you of many of the things that you've already learned and then challenge you to take action on it. But today, 95% coach and then 5% professional keynote speaker. When the lockdowns happened in 2020, I had about $100,000 in speaking gigs, like 15, 18, 20 of them on my calendar, and they all just like canceled within 2 days. And so at that point, I was probably 50% coach and 50% speaker. And so I literally had to pivot and make a big shift. And then I just basically went 100% full-time coaching, and I just let the speaking kind of fall by the wayside, which, in hindsight was okay because I've traveled and spoken all over the world. And at that time, it was very challenging to travel and not a lot of speaking gigs out there. And so it was just fun to stay home. And I have to say that living in Maui, Hawaii is great. But geographically, it's like the worst place in the world to be a professional speaker because we're 6 hours to the West Coast, 12 hours to the East Coast. And I'm actually closer to Auckland, New Zealand than I am to the East Coast of New York and Boston and Philly. So, but yeah, I never grew up thinking that I was going to be a publishing coach. In fact, I got a C in high school English, and then I got a C in college rhetoric. And so I've always viewed myself as just like an average writer. And maybe the problem was they forced us to read like Silas Marner and Shakespeare and all these old British literature texts that I just had no interest in. And so basically the way that I became a publishing coach was back in my early, teens. I ended up being the captain of my varsity football team my senior year. At 17, I was given the pregame speech to our high school football team, and we didn't have a very good team. We finished 0-9, and we didn't win a game all year, so our team kind of sucked. But at the same time, lots of learning from that. But I was given the pregame speeches, and I kept thinking, how do I motivate and inspire these guys? So maybe I wasn't a very good speaker back then. But lots of learning experiences. I graduated, took one speech class in high school, loved it. One speech class in college, and I loved it. Went off to Seattle, and I started speaking after graduation to churches and schools and Rotary and Kiwanis, Boy Scouts, service clubs. And I think I gave 300 speaking engagements, and I failed 300 times to get paid. I got free breakfast and free lunch and free dinner and free pens, free food, free parking. And finally, being a strong man of faith, I had to come to Jesus talk and say, what am I doing here wrong? Why can't I go from free speaking to highly paid fee speaking?
Yes.
After I got back from Source or Spirit or the universe, it just came in like a ton of bricks. And it changed my life. And those listening, if you want to jot this down, this is a big turning point for me. What I heard back was, if you want what others have, you must do what others have done, and you'll get what others have gotten. Again, if you want what others have, you must do what others have done, and you'll get what others have gotten. So I looked at my mentors, Les Brown, Deepak Chopra, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Stephen Covey, Mark Victor Hansen, Jack Canfield. Every single one of them had one thing in common, and that was they successfully wrote and published a book, and they used their book as their platform to stand on to launch their professional speaking, coaching, and consulting career. And their book literally just became a platform, a lead generation tool, an attraction magnet. It became like the world's greatest marketing secret for them. So
yes.
I thought, well, that's why I can't get paid as a speaker, because I don't have a book out. And they kept treating me like I was a hobbyist, an amateur, a wannabe. So I spent 5 years and $20,000 writing, Creating Your Own Destiny. I got it published. I did a book launch party. I immediately started getting speaking engagements, all over the Northwest, and then all over the country, and then all over the world. Long story short, in that journey of speaking all over, I kept having people come up to me afterwards and say, hey, how'd you get your book done? I want to get a book done. Who's your editor? What about publishing? What about book marketing? What about editing, cover design, ISBN, Library of Congress, ebook, audiobook? Did you print in China, Canada, US? How'd you do this? And at the time, I didn't want to be one of those dads that was gone all the time speaking. My boys were 7 and 4, and now they're 34 and 30. And I wanted to be home. And so I thought, wait a minute, I just spent 5 years perfecting this system of writing and publishing a book. And I think I could coach people on how to do it. And so most people have no idea, but there's literally 100 decisions to make in the process of writing and publishing a book. 100. Most people make 20 or 30 decisions correctly. And that's why the average author in a lifetime sells 250 copies in a lifetime. And 98% of authors will never sell more than 2,000 books because they might make 50 or 60 or 70 decisions incorrect. So that's my role, is to lock arms with my clients, present them 100 decisions, help them make the best 100 decisions. And then as a result of that, they'll end up with a world-class, 250, 300-page hardcover book that can be their lead generation tool, that can attract more speaking, coaching, consulting. So I would say I've been a publishing coach now 25 years. And
Wow.
what I love about it is it allows me to stay home. And it doesn't matter if there's lockdowns going on or not. As long as we have internet access, Zoom, conference calls, we can do coaching all over the world. So I think, and many of you people on the line here are all also highly successful coaches. And so you realize that, it doesn't really matter geopolitically what's going on in the world. As long as we have our internet access and our phone line, we can continue living and building our career, and we can do it from anywhere in the world. So that's my publishing coaching story.
Yes.
And again, I got a C in high school English, C in college English. So I'm not a best writing author. I'm just a best-selling author, and there's a difference.
I love that. Best-selling author. Who cares about the writing part? No, yeah. I know the writing part is very important. And you mentioned about the 100 different decisions that someone needs to make in the process of writing and publishing their book. That's a lot of decisions right there. How do you help your clients to get the correct decisions for that?
Well, first off, even like cover design, everybody wants to put their mugshot right on the front of the book. This is an example of a book we just did. This is the #1 ukulele player in the world, Derek Sebastian. And he's done the national anthems in front of the Dodgers games, in front of the Lakers stadium, all over, goes to these stadiums. And so what people need to understand, the front of the book is for the reader, and the back flap of the book is for the author and the author bio. And so with that, we focus on doing high-end books. So if you took the dust jacket off of the book, you're going to see that, the actual book board is on there. We do these color end sheets. But at the end of the day, you don't want your photo on the front of the book. You want the front of the book to be a magnet, to be a book, to lure in the reader. So the front cover is all about the reader and their challenges, obstacles, and situations in life. And then the back flap is about the author. So 99% of the time, I successfully talk my clients out of putting their mugshot on the cover of the book. But also you have title and subtitle and tagline. There's 3 award-winning title formulas, and almost nobody knows these. The #1 award-winning title formula is take a verb, add an ing to it to make it an action verb, and by doing that, the book becomes an ing action verb formula. So we have daydreaming with purpose, creating your own destiny, staying on guard, avoiding propeller blades, awakening who I am. And that formula is the #1 award-winning title formula, and almost nobody in the industry knows it. Because if you say create your own destiny, it's a command or a demand. And nobody wants to be barked at or taught to or preached down on. So when you have ing action verbs as a title, it's a softer, more let's make this journey together. Allow me to be your virtual mentor, and I'm going to walk you through the obstacles, challenges, and heartaches and trauma that you have in your life. So that writing chapter title formula is so good that I have my clients start each one of their chapter titles also with an ing rule. And as long as we're speaking about this, a title should be no more than 5 words that speaks to your head, and then a subtitle is 10 words or that speaks to your heart. So title 5 words, subtitle 10 words. Combination of the two should be no more than 15 words. And you can't repeat the same word twice except for prepositional phrases like of and the and to and from. But you also want to speak to your reader's soul. And the way you do that is the title is not about your life. The subtitle is not about your life. It's about your reader. So creating your own destiny, helping you get exactly what you want out of life and work. And so these are just little things that we do to help them make the right decisions. And in doing so, the chances of their book being successful are way better. And I'll share one last example. Everybody writes the introduction like this. Everybody's introduction is like this. This happened to me and that happened to me. He cheated on me. She cheated on me. Dog ran away. Cat got hit by a train. Had a bankruptcy, foreclosure, divorce. This person did that and that person did this. And so I want you to know I'm a victim, and my whole book is all about my victimhoodness. So read more about my book and you can learn about my victimhoodness. And then maybe you can join the party and we can have a pity party together and talk about us being victims. And that's what everybody does.
Mm.
So one of the 100 decisions I help them understand is that, look, the introduction, it's a hook. It's a movie trailer,
Right.
and it's an infomercial. And it's all about you and I feel your pain. I've been in your shoes. I want to help you achieve your dreams, your goals, your visions. It's okay that your credit score has been dinged. Okay, and I understand that you're working 3 jobs or caring for an aging parent. I get it. I understand. Allow me to be your virtual mentor. And let's make this journey together, because if I can do it, so can you. Are you ready to begin? Good, let's go. Let's get started. So you see, the introduction is all about the reader. And so this is another example of some of these 100 decisions that we work with. And I've got templates and formulas and strategies for all of it. So you don't need to know how to do anything. All you got to do is follow directions.
I love it. I love it. That's so great. It obviously your years of doing this, you've gathered a lot of knowledge and insights and technical information that anybody that hasn't ever written a book ever before in their life is going to be like profound value for sure, for sure.
Well,
So
I'm 56 years old, and I started in this personal growth and development journey in my teens. So it's about 40 years.
yeah,
Blood, sweat, and tears. And I made a lot of mistakes along the way, tons of mistakes.
yeah. So that makes a whole lot of sense. So, oh my gosh. In terms of speaking topics, what, I guess, of course, if you're going to go out and speak, you're going to speak from the content in your book. So the topics are going to be really key. What would you say would be the most important things when outlining a book?
Well, it's not only just your speaking topics, but it's also your coaching topics.
Okay.
And one of the biggest mistakes I see that coaches make is they narrow niche themselves. And I've had clients come to me like, "Oh, I'm just a weight loss coach, weight loss coach, weight loss coach. That's all I do, weight loss coaching." And then someone calls them up and says, "You know what? I'm thin, I'm long, I'm lean, but I eat like crap, and I really want a nutrition coach. Can you help me?" "Oh no, you don't need to lose weight. I can't help you. You got to find somebody else." And so we need to be chameleons. And Tony Robbins said it best. He said, "Let your prospect determine your presentation." So if we're going to write a book and we want to do a lot of speaking gigs and we want to double or triple or quadruple our coaching income, then we ought to write our book about the subject matters that get most booked and about the most needed coaching topics out there. So to answer your question, I'm going to give you both. The number 1 and number 2 most booked speaking topic is leadership, where you're leading others, and self-leadership, where you're leading yourself. And that would include discipline, habits, time management, setting goals. So I don't let any of my clients take a book to print unless they have one chapter on leadership and then another chapter on self-leadership. And almost all my clients also want to be coaches, or they're already a coach and maybe they're part-time, or maybe they're not making the income that they want. So I don't let them take a book to print unless they hit the number 3 top coaching subject matters, which number 1 is empowerment. Number 2 is transformation. And number 3 is change. And so based on that, all my clients, if they want to have anything to do with speaking, coaching, consulting, then 5 chapters that belong in their book are leadership, self-leadership, empowerment, transformation, and change. Because at the end of the day, your book is your speech is your book. It's one and the same. Your
Right.
coaching program is your book. It's one and the same. And your consultancy is your book. It's one and the same. I remember back in 2008, this organization in Malaysia, they wanted me to come speak for 8 hours. And I don't think I'd ever given a keynote speech longer than like maybe a half a day. And they said, "Can you speak for 8 hours in front of like 5,000 people?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You want me to speak for 8 hours?" And I really wanted the gig because I wanted to go see that tallest building in the world in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And so I said, "Yes, I'll do it." And so I basically did 4 hours of keynote speaking blended in there with 4 hours of Q&A. And so I
Nice.
took my speech and I doubled the length just by doing more Q&A with the audience. And it worked out great. But I had my book there with me. And at the break, I was like, "Oh, I haven't talked about this yet. Oh, I haven't talked about that yet." And I had a 250-page, 300-page hardcover book. I could keep going back to the book and pulling out more stories, more information. So literally, your book is your coaching syllabi, and
Yeah.
your book is your keynote speaking all day long speech. That's what it is.
All day long. I love that. Oh my gosh. That's so great. I love hearing this, and I'm hoping that if you have questions that as you're listening, that you're jotting them down so we can get to them after we're done with this interview. But this is just so enlightening for me, and I hope for everyone listening. Interesting thing, one of your most recent book that you wrote was about a memoir of your coach in high school, which was the catalyst for like your life. He was
Yeah.
the catalyst for the rest of your life by teaching you to be a leader, because clearly that's what you are, as a leader. So I'm curious about the memoir, and how we know how this coach impacted your life, and I know you're creating a memoir for him and it's about to be released. Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Well, first off, over the years, so many people have come to me with their autobiography. And the problem with an autobiography is I'm not famous, and pretty good chance my clients aren't famous too. We're not professional athletes. We're not movie stars. We're not celebrities. We're not Michael Jordan, Joe Montana. We're not, Madonna or Cher or these big, celebrities. So nobody's going to read our autobiography. So what I've done these last 5 years is I've got a personal growth and development writing template, but I've also taken this autobiography concept and I've expanded it and I turned it into a memoir with a message. So my memoir with a message template is for anybody that wants to write their autobiography. What we do is 70% of every chapter is all about the author. And then we flip the script and we turn it on its side. And then the last 30% of every chapter is what did you learn as the author? Ask the reader some reflective exercise questions and then offer some tips or strategies or life hacks to help them overcome their challenges and obstacles and heal their trauma. And then in addition to that, do some reflective exercise questions, because questions are so powerful and they really hook people in. And then do a summary and then do a call to action, because the best speakers in the world, they always challenge their audiences to take action. So we as authors, we need to do the same thing. We got to challenge you to get off your butt and go out there and go after your dreams, goals, and visions. So
True.
About 5 years ago, I created this memoir with a message template, and my author clients absolutely love it because they get to write their autobiography, which is 70% of each chapter. And then the last 30% is where their coaching business comes in. And that's the reason why people hire them as a coach, because of the last 30%. Because now they know how much we care as a coach. And there's that old saying is, nobody cares how much you know. They only care or they only want to know how much you care. And I probably butchered that quote, but you know where I'm going with it. So my point is that yes, I did have a football coach. He coached me 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade in football, Pee Wee, Pop Warner football. And then he was my 7th and 8th grade coach for football. So that's 5 years of coaching. And then he coached me in baseball for 2 years in Little League. So that's 7. And then 2 more years in junior high. That's 9. So 9 years he coached me. His name is Bill McCarrick. He's 15 years older than me. Became an amazing friend, a mentor, like a second father. And unfortunately, he was diagnosed with cancer about maybe 6 months ago. And I kind of thought that he could beat it. And then I've been trying to write this book for 15 years. But, when you're so busy coaching other people, and I lost my mother and father, in the last few years, and dealing with that grief. Now being an adult orphan, it's like, how do you find time to write something else? Well, his brother called me about 3 weeks ago. He said, Bill's now stage 4. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to do this. So full steam ahead, all day, all night for 2 weeks, got the whole book done. 300 pages, 60,000 words. And then I spent the last week editing it, and now it's soon to come off the press. So this is an image of the book. It's titled The Last Undefeated Season, which is a story of the 1981 St. Paul Blue Waves Catholic Junior High in Owasso, Michigan, where I grew up. And we had 19 guys on our team when we started, and we finished the season with only 12. And the team bus broke down early in the year, so our coach, Bill McCarrick, had us run 1.5 miles to practice. Practice for 3 hours and then run 1.5 miles back, which put us in this elite conditioning. And so our 12 guys knocked off the perennial league champs. They had 70 to 80 guys on the roster. So certainly a David and Goliath story. So the title of the book is Leadership Lessons from the 1981 Owasso St. Paul Blue Waves Champions. And then the tagline at the top is a tribute to Coach Bill McCarrick's life, leadership, and legacy. And in the 3 sections of the book, section 1 is about falling in love with the game as a student athlete of football. Number 2 about the 81 season. And then number 3, I interviewed, because he coached for 38 years. So I interviewed all these other players over the years that he coached, because this is not just our story. And he's not just our coach selfishly. He's the coach to 38 other football teams over all of these years. So now the book is like 70,000 words. And I'm racing against the clock to get it in his hands by the end of the summer, because I just want to give this gift to him. And the story needs to be told, and I'm having a ball with it, and I'm bringing back all these memories, because I think all of us, as we age, we get stuck in today's challenges and trauma and drama, that we don't sit back and say, you know what, we had a pretty good childhood. And life was pretty good back then. And unfortunately, we've lost that lifestyle due to the internet and, cell phones stealing our freedom. But yeah, this is the greatest gift that I can give to somebody. And at the same time, this is what I do for a career. So I don't think there's better to do it on the team than me. So I got to get it done.
That's so great. And the story's got to be just so empowering. All the things that you said, empowering, transformative, the change. It's like you've got all the components in it that you've just been sharing about.
Well, and it turns out the book has nothing to do with football. It has everything to do with belief. And it was Robert Brooks who said one of the most important things in the life of a child is one person that believes in them. Mm-hmm. And Bill was that one person that believed in us as players before we believed in ourselves. So the book is about belief. The book is about mentorship. The book is about giving back to your community. The book is about taking the youth of today and becoming the leaders of tomorrow. So yeah, even though it's the cover of the football and all that, it has nothing to do with football. The life lessons are so much greater. So I'm so excited about it.
I'm excited for you. I love it. So I want to switch back to writing, having us writing our book so that we can get those speaking engagements, so that we can build our coaching base. Let's just talk about we talked about the title, but we haven't talked, and we talked a little bit about the introduction, talked a little bit about the cover design. What else would you want to share about us as individuals writing our book? What would be another thing? I mean, we know topics, it's got to be leadership, it's got to be self-leadership, empowerment, transformation, and change.
Well, first off, those that see the recording or those of you that are live, I'm going to give everybody 3 really cool special reports. And the best way to receive those is to send me an email, patrick@patricksnow.com. Again, patrick@patricksnow.com. And just say, please send me the 3 special reports. And the 3 that I'm going to send, number 1 is 12 tips to triple your coaching income. It's 8,000 words and 8 pages and 5,000 words of the best coaching strategies that I've developed over the last 25 years of being a coach. The second one is 20 professional speaker secrets. So if you want to be a professional speaker, here are 20 secrets that you need to know. And then the most important one is probably 21 mistakes to avoid when writing and publishing and promoting your book. And so I don't have time to cover all 21 of those, but I'll cover some of those right now today. And I would say the biggest mistake that people make is they write and publish the book, and they think that they're just going to get on TV and they're going to get on all these talk shows and all these blogs, and all the famous celebrities are going to call them and book them. And it doesn't happen. And so they promote their book for 30 days, and then they might sell 7 copies on Amazon. And so then after 60 days, maybe they're at 23 copies, and 90 days, they capped off and they sold 29 books. And so what do? They pack up their tent, and then they go home and they're thinking, well, that book was no good. I best, start on writing another book. And so they do. So after 90 days of book marketing, they give up on their first book and they write a second, and then they write a third, and then they wrote a fourth and a fifth. And my mentor, Dan Pointer of the Self-Publishing Manual, 20 years ago, he told me it's better to write 1 book and spend every year the rest of your life updating that book into a 2nd edition, a 3rd edition, a 4th edition, a 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, add new chapters, new stories, new book awards, new testimonials. In fact, that's what I've done with this. This is Creating Your Own Destiny in the 1st edition. That's a flimsy 140-page book. This is like 25, 26 years old. And I even misspelled the word freedom on the back with 3 E's. Freedom. right? There's other spelling errors and typos and grammar. So this is book edition number 1. And then let me find this. This is book edition number like 4 or 5. And you can see the book is just a little bit thicker, maybe 2 or 3 chapters more. And then the colors change. And then from there, I did book edition number 10.
Oh, wow.
And then number 10, you can see is 320 pages in hardcover. And so this is like all the best stuff. And then I sold the rights to John Wiley and Sons, and they butchered it. And they put this ugly puke green and yellow mustard color on the front. These are my children's footprints in the sand in Hawaii when they were a kid. And they did this. They put the Illuminati, ever seen eye, symbol on my book. It's terrible, right? And they owned this, and so there's nothing I can do. So that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made, was selling out to a New York publisher who now controls the book. But as you can see over time, my intent of sharing this story with you is that a book is like a tree. And you plant the tree and you nourish it and you water it and you put fertilizer in it and you rake up the leaves. And you do that each and every year. So I tell people a successful book is 5% writing and then 95% promotion.
Okay.
Everybody says, Patrick, how long should my book launch tour go? How long should it be? And how long is your book marketing campaign? And I'm like, well, I published the book at 31 and I'm 56. I'm going to live to at least be 100. So I got another 44 years of marketing ahead of me. So we spend upwards of 9 months birthing our book or birthing a child into the world. And then as a parent, we spend 18 to 22 years of our life raising our children. So we got to do the same thing with a book. So a successful book marketing campaign is to spend the rest of your life marketing your book 10 to 15 minutes every day. That's one of the biggest mistakes that people make.
Yeah. They think it's just going to happen because they wrote it. And it's not. That's not the way it works.
They don't realize there's 100,000 books in this country every month that are published. So you're competing with 1.2 million other authors. So you got to promote, and you can't get.
So in your mind, what is the best way to promote your book?
Well, I will tell you, I had a major, like, life-changing experience happen to me within the first year of my book coming off the press. And I'll say this today, I'm not trying to brag in any way, shape, or form, because this is not what that's meant to do. But today my keynote speaking fee is 25 grand to go speak for an hour. And I don't think I've ever been paid 25 grand, but I've been paid 20, 22, 22.5, 18, 17, 16, 15. I still do a lot in the $10,000 to $12,000 range. It's like real estate. You set a really high price for your house, and then a cash buyer comes and offers you 80% and you take it, because you don't have any other authors. So you set a high speaking fee, and then unfortunately we accept what other meeting planners are paying.
Right.
In the early days, all my speaking was in and around Seattle. I drive Seattle, drive to Boise, drive to Spokane, drive to Portland, drive north, south, east, and west, and they were all local gigs. And I was 500 here and 2,500 there, and I don't know, 850 here, and then maybe a 5,000 gig here. And then I got my first real out of state, like get on an airplane speech. And that was a big deal for me, right? Because you know what they say an expert is? It's somebody who flies in on an airplane and is carrying a briefcase. Then you become the out of town expert. So I have a multitude of strategies that I use to booking speaking engagements. And also I can throw in another special report, 12 ways to book more gigs. I can send that to your audience member as well. And this shares one of those ways. So I mailed a signed copy of my book to a meeting planner for ASA Tire Software. And this tire software company sold their tire software to the Firestones, the BF Goodrich, all the different tire dealers all over the country. And they were doing a big conference in Key Largo, Florida. And so they got me an airline ticket, and they rolled out the red carpet treatment. They put me in the penthouse suite. I don't even drink alcohol, but they had these bottles of wine for me in my room, this big fruit dish, and cheese and crackers. And I thought to myself, if only my kids could see me now, because they had no idea. And I was like, oh, this is the greatest thing. And so then I did what my mentors taught me to do. My mentor said, you need to show up early and stay late, be like a politician, go around, shake everybody's hand before the speech. And so I did that, and I'd say, I'm going to be your speaker today. And by the way, I'm going to tell some jokes. So please, please laugh at my jokes if you could. And so they were just laughing at me because I was asking them before my speech to laugh. And so then when I got on stage and told the jokes, then they laughed. And then afterwards, my mentor taught me to stay until the very person in the room leaves, because oftentimes you get the most spin-off speaking and coaching gigs after everybody leaves and there's 5 or 7 or 10 hanging out for an hour or 2 hours asking questions. So I did just that. And then finally, everybody left, and it was just the meeting planner and I. And I said, please, please, please help me. And I didn't want to tell her this is my first like out of state, get on an airplane speech. I probably had done, I don't know, a couple hundred, 300 or 400, 500 speeches, but they were all mostly local.
Yeah.
And I said, please help me out. I said, there had to have been other speakers. And so based on that, what was it about me? Why did you book Patrick Snow? I need to know for my own, benefit.
Yes.
I said, oh my goodness, you're not going to believe it. We got 27 emails from speakers all over the country, and they all had their highlight video embedded into the email. But you, Mr. Snow, you were the only one to send an actual copy of your book. And not only did you do that, on the inside page, you write a big, long one-page inscription. And so we were so impressed by receiving the book and the personal note that you sent us that you were our only choice. And I'm like, that's great. But still, what did you think of the book? And my life changed forever. She said, Patrick, there were 7 of us on the speaker selection committee, and we were all so darn busy preparing for this event that not a single one of us actually even read your book. And in that moment, I thought to myself, you know what? Yeah, when you sell books for the readers, it's about the message of the book. But as a marketing tool, it's not about the message of the book. It's about the act of kindness, of gifting a signed copy of the book to the meeting planner, to the coaching prospect, to the consulting organization. And so once you gift those books, and people say, how do you sell 1 million books? I'm like, I gave away 5,000 copies over 25 years, right? And so I came back to Washington State, into Seattle, and I sat down and I said, okay, from now on, I'm giving away 3 or 4 or 5 books every day. Every meeting planner, every coaching prospect, every blogger, every podcaster, every radio, TV, newspaper host or journalist, I'm sending a book, sending a book, sending a book. And so I'd go to the post office every single day, Monday through Friday, and I have 2 or 3 or 4 books that I'd mail out. So I'd get 500 books in my garage. I'd put them in 2 piles. 250 books in the giveaway pile, 250 books in the sell pile. And I would sell those 250 books and do 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 speaking gigs because of the 250 books that I would give away. And then as a result of that, the revenue from those speaking, coaching, consulting, I'd go order another 500, 1,000 books. And I did it over and over and over.
Wow.
So the way to become a best-selling author is just give books away to people with big mouths.
There you go. Yep.
People in direct sales, C-level executives, meeting planners, coaching prospects. And now with the internet, I can take a PDF file of my book cover and the PDF file of the interior, take page 1 of the actual PDF file, put the cover as page 1 and page 2, and then email the PDF to people all over the world. And then by doing that, you're going to stand out above the crowd from everybody else. So to me, I think a book is nothing more than a hook. It's a lead generation tool. It's an attraction magnet. It's a physical website. It's the world's greatest marketing secret in the history of all business. So I tell people, you want to be a horse jockey? You need a horse. You want to be a race car driver? You need a race car. You want to be a highly successful speaker and coach, you need a book, because a book is a sales it. It's not a salesman or a saleswoman. You don't pay medical, dental benefits. You don't pay an hourly wage. The books doesn't charge you anything. And all you got to do is systematically give your books away like candy on Halloween to the right people strategically. And when you do that, great things happen. So here's a flow chart. This is the basis of everything that I teach as a project manager, production coordinator, book doctor, writing, publishing, book marketing coach, speaker coach, coaching coach, social media branding coach, publicity coach. This is the system that I teach. And I'm going to just call it my flow chart. And every time I do it, there's either more or fewer or less, but I think I've got it down. So just bear with me. So number one in the flow chart, you take your intellectual property, all your blogs, all your articles, all your special reports, you repurpose them and you place them in the form of a book. So number one, take your intellectual property, write and publish a book. Number two, you strategically gift the book to meeting planners, coaching prospects, bloggers, and podcasters all over the world every single day. Number three, they get the book, and the book is nothing more than a lead generation tool. This is a client of mine who just had a near-death experience in Jackson, Wyoming, falling into an ice moat. But we send the book, and on the back of the book, there is this right here, the website. So the book is nothing more than an arrow. So that's step number three. The book is an arrow and it points to the website. And step number four, on the website, front and center, you have a world-class highlight video. And a lot of people that want to crack into speaking, they don't have a highlight video. Because they don't have a highlight video, they can't get a speech. So this is the reason why we take our clients and we do a world-class book launch party 90 days after the book comes off the press in front of 150, 200 people. And then we have a multi-camera video shoot done at the book launch party while they're delivering a 1-hour keynote speech. And then we take the best 5 minutes of that 1-hour keynote speech and create a highlight video. And we put testimonials from the audience. And then now they've got their keynote highlight video speech that they can share out. So step number 2, 3, or 4, and I've already lost track of my numbers, is the highlight video. And then in the highlight video becomes the evaluation. All they care about is, are you good or do you suck? Are you a narcissist? Are you a prick? Are you arrogant? Or are you compassionate, gentle, humble, easygoing? Are you going to be easy to work with?
Yes.
I want to see your personality. And I once got a $10,000 gig in Canada, London, Ontario, Canada. And the meeting planner said, can you bring that level of energy from your highlight video to our stage? And if you can do that, we're going to pay you $10,000. Can you do that? And I'm like, well, of course. Why are you asking the question? They said, oh, last year we had the worst, most boring speaker ever. Just boring and dull and dry. And your energy, we love your energy. We want somebody like you. Of course, yes, we can do that. So that's what the purpose of the highlight video is. And so now step number 5, 6, or 7, because again, I've lost track on numbers, you get on the stage and you deliver the keynote speech. And during the time of the keynote speech, they fall in love with you because you have a captive audience. And the longer that you speak, the more deeper the love and trust, right? And so at the end of the speech, the number one thing, and almost every speaker fails on this, is we must ASK to GET. So the next step in the flow chart is you must ask to get. And you let them know that 100% of your speaking engagements come by way of referral only. So if you've enjoyed this destiny message today, come see me in the back of the room. Give me your business card. I'd be honored and thrilled to earn your referral. And so now you have 30, 40, 50 people in the audience that are looking for ways to get you more speaking gigs. So you speak, and then you get a spin-off engagement, and maybe you get 4, and then you can do those 4 speaking engagements, and then you get 16, and then you do those 16, and you get like 48, and then you follow these spin-off engagements for the rest of your life. I know absolutely nothing about human resources. Nothing. I mean, I've had jobs before, but I haven't had a job in 24 years, right? But I know nothing about it. And I ended up speaking at this accounting conference, and I had never taken an accounting class ever. And someone there was in the human resources division of their company. So then they had me on this human resource tour. Pretty soon I was speaking all the way throughout South America, in Mexico, Guatemala, in Peru, in Argentina, in Chile, to the Human Resources Consortium, right? About helping people be inspired at work and creating their own destinies. And again, I have no idea about human resources. But it was the energy, it was the passion, right? Yeah. And it was these spin-off engagements. So you ask to get. And then number 2, the biggest mistake that people make in coaching is they don't offer complimentary consultations. If you're a coach, you got to be complimentary coaching offers for a discovery call all day, all night, by cell phone, by text, by email, by social media, in person, making offers, because nothing happens in business between buyer and seller until an offer is made. And the best offer is to offer your prospect a complimentary, no obligation, 30 to 60-minute consultation by phone, in person, by Zoom. Never say the word free, because free is cheap. You always say complimentary, complimentary. So if any of you out in the audience are interested, I want you to send me a text. And I'd be honored and thrilled to offer you a complimentary consultation. My private cell phone number is 206-310-1200. Again, 206-310-1200. And the audience goes, "Woo! I can't believe he just gave out his private cell phone number." And I say, yeah, I just gave out my private cell phone number. And the reason why you need to do that, because when you give out your private cell phone number, guess what? People have a tendency to give you their private credit card number. So that's how that works, right? It's a feedback back and forth, and nobody's going to text you unless they want to do business with you. And again, a lot of speakers and a lot of coaches, they forget to make that coaching offer. Yep. And speaking offer and the coaching offer are the two most important parts of the entire speech. And then you finish up, you do your challenge at the end. And then Brian Tracy taught me as a young speaker how to get a standing ovation on every speech. So I share that as well. And it works about 99% of the time, unless you're talking to government workers. It doesn't work for government workers. Everybody else it works for. So now you're done with the speech. And then, oh, by the way, you're also a consultant, and the C-level executives are like, wait a minute, we're having major issues here. Our board of directors is, chomping down our throats. We need to get something done here. We're looking for a consultant. Why should we hire Arthur Anderson or Accenture when they're wanting 100, 200, 300,000? We might be able to get Patrick for 25 or 50,000. So now these companies come ask me to do consulting for them because they fell in love. And oh, by the way, now people come to the back of the room and then they buy your book. And I tell them to follow me on social media. And then so they become a fan, and then they become joint venture affiliate partners. And I met you only because of Mary West as a joint venture affiliate partners. So these are all of the steps in this flow chart, and all you do is just follow it over and over and over again. And this is how you build a huge speaking, coaching, consulting industry from home in the information empire industry. And this is going to sound arrogant, and I don't want it to sound this way. But people always say, Patrick, why do you live in Hawaii? Why do you live in Maui? Why? And my answer is because I can. They're like, what are you talking about? I said, as a coach, all we need is a phone line and internet access. That's it.
That's right.
Worst place in the world to be a speaker, but it's one of the best places to be a coach. And so the point of it is, when we master this flow chart, then we become the captain of our ship. We become the creator of our destiny. We become the one in charge of how much revenue that we make. And that's what you teach, is you teach people how to coach.
Yes.
Right there behind you. So I love this. So I'm sorry for answering that so long. I can go on. No. I can go on for 2 days about this stuff, just so you know.
I love it. I love it. I love the enthusiasm and the simplicity, because what you're talking about isn't difficult. It's just doing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. It's
knowing what to do and how to do it without being overly aggressive. When I send my book to a meeting planner, I will either text them or call them about once every 10 days.
Nice.
Or maybe an email, because I just want to drip on them, just like water in a faucet. Just drip, drip, drip. And typically, Napoleon Hill, in the book Law of Success, he says on average it takes 7 bits of communication between buyer and seller for a sale to transpire. Most sales professionals, according to Fortune magazine, says that most sales professionals give up on their prospect after just 3 bits of communication. So I'm going to drip on my prospect every 10 days for the rest of my life until they say, nope, we're not going to book you. We're going to book somebody else. Or they say, no, Patrick, we booked somebody else. Can you call us in a year from now? Because we want to book you for next year. And if they say, no, I'm never going to work with you, then of course I turn the faucet off and I'll never drip on them again.
Got you. That's so smart. So smart. And you're so right about the saying is the money is in the follow-up. And so keeping in touch with your clients is really key. And, I've done that myself with an email list, and I have sent people an email over years. And then 10 years later, somebody goes, okay, I'm ready. They're ready
Yeah.
when they're ready, right? They're ready when they're
Yeah.
ready. It's consistent follow-up really does make a difference. So I love
And
that.
as a strong man of faith, I firmly believe that every one of us on this call as coaches, we are doing God's work. We are earth angels. We are serving humanity as a servant leader, helping other people heal, helping them forgive, helping them release trauma, helping them eliminate fear and anxiety, and showing them a better way to live. And so I firmly believe as long as we're doing God's work, nature is always going to provide. Universe provides. I mean, birds don't wake up in the morning and scrambling, living paycheck to paycheck. Where am I going to get my next food? Where am I going to take my next bath? They find a mud puddle to clean themselves in, and they'll find a worm digging underground. So when we do God's work as servant leaders in the industry of the coaching industry, we're always taken care of.
I agree 1,000% with that for sure. Following your divine guidance and sharing your innate gifts with the world, and then you're gonna uplift people, when you do that. So I agree with you. So I know that you talked about offering a free consultation. And so I'm thinking there's probably a few people listening to this that might want to take you up on that. So
Yeah, but actually it's not free, just so you know, it's complimentary. Because
Oops,
as a coach, we can never say free, otherwise people won't value our time. So
that's
yes,
so true.
I offer a complimentary, no obligation, 60-minute, maybe even 90 minutes, depending on how much time they need, complimentary consultation by FaceTime, by Zoom, in person if geographically possible, or by phone, whatever they want, to talk about writing, publishing, book marketing, speaking, coaching, media training, branding, anything in this information empire industry. I can help them do that. And that's what I think people like about my publishing system is they don't need to hire one person for writing, another person for book marketing, another person for publishing, another person to teach them the speaking business, another person to get them media trained. It's a one-stop shop. There's no expiration to my coaching. But yeah, the best way to schedule that time is just to send me a text on my private cell phone number, 206 310 1200. Again, 206 310 1200. And most importantly, let me know your full name so I can add you to my phone. And then also let me know that you heard about me from Barbara Wainwright on this program. And then in doing that, I'll text you right back with, and also I need your time zone. So your full name and your time zone. And then I'll respond and I'll give you several dates and times to choose from, maybe 6, 8, 10, 12 slots. And then we'll book a session. And I love FaceTime the best. I don't even have Zoom. I just do FaceTime. But if you guys have a Zoom link and you send me your Zoom link, we can use your Zoom link or FaceTime or phone. And then I'll help you go from wherever you are now because you guys are already at the high end of coaching. You're already there. You've been doing it full time. And so maybe you want to go from 250 grand to $1 million. Maybe you want to go from 500 grand to $1 million. Wherever you're at, these principles are going to help you double or triple what you're at, and it's just going to give you more time and money freedom. And I certainly am not going to step on Barbara and your toes, what you've taught. I'm more of a supplement to what you're doing. This is not meant to replace what you're doing because you're amazing, and I certainly don't want to go and do that. So yeah, so send me a text. I'd be honored and thrilled for that.
Awesome. And so what I'd like to do now, if anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask, we can open up the room for questions and answers. And you know how to get a hold of Patrick. It's patricksnow.com. You can send him an email at patricksnow.com to get the free reports, which I'm going to do personally. And then you can also reach out to him on his personal cell phone, 206-310-1200. Including your name and time zone. That's really key because
and texting is always the best way to reach me. My speaking website is way outdated previous to the lockdowns. That's the Patrick Snow website. My publishing website is becoming a best-selling author.com. Becoming a best-selling author.com without a hyphen, just becoming a best-selling author.com. So that's the whole publishing book marketing website there as well. But yeah, I'd love to do a Q&A, and we can either do them by video or maybe if people put their questions in the chat, whatever they feel most comfortable with.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. So go ahead, and I believe you have the capability to unmute if you want to. I think I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording right now. And so I want to say thank you for joining us and watching. If you have been, appreciate your time, and don't forget, get in touch with Patrick Snow.